Hey, friends, family, loved ones, and those I have yet to meet. My name is Dr. Lance von Stade. I'm a chiropractor here at Golden Gate Chiropractic Center in San Francisco, and this is SF Heal. The purpose of the show is to connect the health and healing community to more of itself. And I imagine you can see in the world today that that is a great need. And we need to be binding together, learning more about our healthcare system and how we can show up for one another inside and outside the walls of our small businesses. So I want to share one of the more challenging decisions that I've had to make as a professional, as a parent, as a partner, and as a person. The many hats that we wear when we are a small business owner in healthcare. And whether you are an acupuncturist, massage therapy, naturopath, chiropractor, functional medicine specialist, I imagine you can resonate with some of the challenges we're facing. For me, I had to make the decision on which bottom line came first. Most people will measure the bottom line as profit. And when we make the decision to decrease the volume of people we've seen or decrease completely and avoid even coming into work and closing the doors, obviously that affects our bottom line for profit. But we consider ourselves to have a quadruple bottom line. And you may have heard this concept in other places. I learned about it in training at USF as a resident minister and have taken it to heart. Profit is only one aspect of the bottom line. People also matter on that bottom line. Purpose and our planet. And when we consider these four elements of the bottom line in our business and how we need to show up for the people that we serve, for our team members and staff, and also in alignment with the purpose of what our business is meant to do, the planet at large, and then also as a business we do need to make profit. But I imagine, as most of you are experiencing, this may not be the time to be able to focus on making profit from a financial perspective. So how do we invest in making a profit in the other four bottom lines? How do we come out net positive when it comes to how we are perceived by our practice members in our community, by the staff who intrinsically work here? How do we go net positive on our purpose and live the mission of our practice? For us, we provide compassionate chiropractic care in San Francisco to empower people to heal, learn, and evolve. How do we do that in this time? We can't do that if we are hunkering down in fear and making rash decisions and just trying to profit financially. But if we can invest in having compassion for people and the needs of others right now, we will be investing in those relationships. And that will have payoff later on down the line, but now is not the cash-in time. And also, when it comes to our planet. Now, we are not experts in immunology, and the immunologists making recommendations at this time can't possibly know every single interaction that's happening here and what needs are here. We have to marry and hold that tension. We have to trust in certain elements of our system that they are guiding us in the right direction, and we also have to trust our instincts that we are on the ground and seeing the faces and hearing the voices of the people who are suffering or those who are stepping up to contribute. And how do we negotiate all of those relationships and stay true to our purpose, our planet, our people, and our profit? So I wanted to share all of these elements of making our decision and a couple stories. We had to choose, do we stay open as an essential task during this time and risk people coming in off the street to receive chiropractic care, coming and perhaps transmitting that infection to us, the COVID-19, and us taking that home to our families? Or do we promise to them that we will keep this area completely sanitized and a zero transmission zone so they could come safely? And we did promise this. And then we went one day trying to fulfill that promise and found out that with our current volume of people, that we don't have the staff to be able to clean every single surface in between every single person. And we could do the table, we could wash our hands before and after a person, but then as soon as that person crosses someone else in the hallway, we can't control that. And we started to realize that there are so many elements of this disease that is transmitted even asymptomatically that we could not possibly guarantee the safety. And regardless of someone dying in our practice and getting sick and dying, to us that's not the worry. We've already turned away the people who are most at risk of fatality. It's simply recognizing that we need to slow down the transmission of this disease, and that influence comes from two different people that I've spoken to. Damiano Costa, who's also a chiropractor, but in Italy, who is basically a week ahead of us when it comes to, they have been in shelter in place for 8 days now, and I just spoke with him this morning. And my wife, Monica, who's a social worker at UCSF, and UCSF being the hospital that had the first cases, I believe, in San Francisco, perhaps even the US. So having spoken with Damiano and recognizing that the major burden in Italy is not necessarily the fatality rate. However, the bottlenecking of people who are trying to get care at the hospital all at once is overwhelming. The staff can't keep up. And it's not necessarily that this disease isn't going to spread to a majority, if not all people at some point in our lives. We're going to catch this disease. Perhaps those with massive, strong immune systems may not even notice it. Most kids currently are not even expressing symptoms. However, if many people are all getting this disease all at once, and everyone who gets a fever is having to go to the hospital to get tested, the staff is not going to be able to test everyone. They are sucking up resources and not allowing all those who are at primary risk of a potential fatality to get the intensive care that they need. And so I think it is part of our responsibility to do what we can to slow the transmission. And one of the moves we've made here in the office is to simply call each of our patients and have an in-detailed conversation about the needs they have and whether the benefits of coming in outweigh the risks of coming in. And the conversation has looked like, hello, so-and-so. I want to talk about your upcoming appointment, and we are recommending to the people who come to see us to make the decision to come if the care you receive here is critical and crucial for you having the quality of life and ability to cope to the stress of this time. How do you feel hearing me say that? And we have a conversation that goes one way or the other. More often than not this week, it has gone, actually I feel pretty good. I have some community, I have my exercises I got from you, the ones at the gym that are doing virtual, and they feel resourced. Other people have said, I actually am in dire need. We have people who are either on the edge of surgery that are trying to prevent it, or people that just feel so much emotional stress and tension about the uncertainty of the situation that they don't feel well and that they're not able to sleep. They're not feeling confident that they can continue to cope and stay healthy and well and avoid getting any sickness themselves. Those are the people that we're welcoming into our space. And although that drop in volume has hit our bottom line from a profit perspective, the connection and respect that we're gaining with the people impacts a positive net for our people investment, that other bottom line I talked about. And that feels really good. And when people are coming with more space between, we can protect them accurately because they're not crossing people in the hallway. We can clean the trail behind them and clean up and before and after and protect them a lot more. And that feels really good to be able to provide a service and fulfill the promise we made. The other person that I spoke to, I mentioned, is Monica. And Monica works at UCSF. She's a social worker there. And what she is telling me is how the UCSF system is preparing for basically what some are calling an onslaught of volume of people who are most likely going to get sick with the trajectory that we're seeing now. And yes, there are lots of news articles and clickbait and conflicting information. And again, because I'm not an expert in immunology, I need to trust somebody. And one of the resources I'm choosing to trust was the Joe Rogan interview with Michael Osterholm, I believe his name. And if you haven't seen the interview, I think it's really good for the first half hour. Then they start talking about Lyme disease and all these other things that are just not in time for me. It's good to know that's there just in case. But I do resonate a lot with what he has shared. He seems to be reputable. And that information, coupled with Damiano's testament to them turning cargo ships into hospitals in Genova, in Italy, because they can't fit any more people in the hospital. Knowing that that is a possibility, knowing that there are some predictions and trajectories that this could go in a way that doesn't seem enjoyable, and Monica being in the hospital setting, just knowing the intensity of the preparations being made, and then also the triangle of relationship that I have with Monica right now, where Monica is going to the hospital, And since right now there's not enough masks for all the staff to be protected, they are trying to telecommute and get needs met. But she is going to and from the hospital and bringing a potential transmission home. And then I am going home and potentially having a transmission. And then I may be coming and seeing people in practice and perhaps transmitting. So I have to be very careful with wearing my mask, wearing goggles, wearing gloves, washing my hands, cleaning surfaces, doing everything we can to make sure that the benefit outweighs any of the risk. And this conversation, that potential relationship, Italy, and having a person on the ground who's a week ahead of us, and being a chiropractor, small businessman, and also understanding that there's a lot of information that recommendations are making to help us dampen the curve, slow the transmission of this disease so that we're not bottlenecking and overwhelming the hospitals. And I think if we understand that and we then make a decision that meets the needs of our community and sits really nicely in our gut, when I make this decision, I can feel the ease that I feel. And 10 years from now, when I look back at this time and I tell myself the story of how I showed up, we have to sit in integrity with it. One of the more enjoyable parts of this process has been bringing my staff together to have a pretty intimate conversation about what each of our individual needs are as a person, a partner, a parent, a professional. Where do the needs of ourselves and the needs of our loved ones marry the needs of our business and our team? And as we came together, we were able to see the big picture and look at all four of our bottom lines and come to an understanding that we wanted to show up. And I am not saying there is one right way to do this. It will be unique to each of our local needs while honoring the needs of our world. But I do encourage you, this is my call to action to all of us, is to run the risk-benefit analysis of how you're showing up and how you're serving your community, and whether there are ways to do so without increasing the risk of transmitting a disease, and also not assuming that pulling back completely and not showing up for your people is the best option either, because the needs of your local community are also at risk. And if we're leaving people hanging and alone, isolated in their homes, when we could build a way that we serve them that still gets their need for connection met, that is also worth considering. So I hope that we're able to find ways. If you need resources or help, also feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to start conversations on this and encourage those that own small businesses or are parents or partners or simply individuals trying to show up for their world to make decisions that rest well in our gut, that are in alignment with what our community needs, and know that although we don't have all the information and that tension is uncomfortable while we make the decision, that our subconscious minds and our gut instinct is powerful. And if we live in congruence with what our heart's telling us to do, and we marry that with the rational mind, we'll make the best decision, and we'll make that next best step together. And thanks for checking this out. As I mentioned, SF Heal is here to connect the health and healing community to more of itself. So if you know any experts or people in that space that you'd like to learn from, I imagine I'd like to learn right alongside you. I'm happy to pick their brain on the show. So please connect us if you can. I'll look forward to meeting all the people that inspire you so that we can connect the health and healing community to more of itself.